if you prioritize it and you know what to do with where you're at in that moment, fuck, is it worth it? And once you get some wins around this, it will be generative. It will be momentum that you can build. And so at any level in today's podcast, I hope you do implement something that you can do to shift from go mode to rest, family, and connection mode. Welcome to The King Within, a podcast for men who seem to have it all, yet feel like they're losing what matters most. I'm Mike Salemi, and I've been there. Successful on paper, but disconnected on the inside. This isn't about grinding harder. It's about mastering your emotions, leading with calm strength, and rebuilding trust at home. Each week, we dive into real stories and tools for becoming the man your family runs towards, not away from. Because you didn't build this life to lose yourself in it. This is The King Within. Let's do the work. Welcome to today's episode. I have been looking forward to today's topic for months. And the specific thing that we're talking about today is a time of day. It's only a few minutes where a man transitions from work mode or provider mode into rest and family mode. And usually it's overlooked or completely non-existent in most men's life, and its consequences and repercussions can be massive. Now, let me just backtrack for a moment, because 2 weeks ago, I recorded a podcast all around patience. Now, so many guys that I work with say, man, Mike, I just need to be more patient. You know, I come home, I want to sit down, I'm exhausted. And all of a sudden, my kids grab the remote, they change the channel, and boom, next thing I know, I'm yelling at them. And I end up hating myself and feeling guilty for it afterwards. So in that episode, we talked about how patience is the end product, and there's building blocks to it, as well as what to do to support yourself in a moment of high reactivity or even high withdrawal. Today, we're looking at what happens before that, in the time of transition from go mode to family mode. And also on today's podcast, I'm going to give you information on an upcoming workshop that I'm going to be not only doing it live, but it'll be recorded, going even deeper on this topic with specific protocols and a 4-part framework that you can do to support yourself during this super important time of day. But let's unpack this a bit more, because what first gave me the idea for today's topic is this was, I want to say like 3 months ago. And for context as well, so this is my home office. This is also where I practice. This is where I, serve about 90% of the clients that I work with, from the online men's group to one-on-one. And it's a very quick transition point between what I'm doing in here to downstairs, my wife, Lauren, and Luca. So on this particular day, I remember I got up, I did my morning routine, my meditation, my embodiment practices. I worked all day. There wasn't too many buffers, and I had, I think it was 1 or 2 more cups of coffee than I normally do. And what had happened was I went in the kitchen, and immediately I was writing on the whiteboard of the logistics for the next day of, what appointments that I have. We write my main appointments for the week on a whiteboard so my wife can have an understanding of scheduling and planning and meals and, who's picking up Luca, all that sort of stuff. So I went to that, gave her a peck on the lips, gave Luca a peck, and she immediately says, "You're bouncing. You're all over the place." And she was exactly right. I was moving fast. I was talking fast. There really wasn't a deep sense of presence that she was craving, especially after me being gone all day with little to no breaks. But in that moment, I was tired and wired. And in that moment, I understand what she was communicating was the relationship felt more mechanical, right? There was logistics, but no warmth. And not only in that moment or that evening, but in most times that I don't do some type of transition ritual, I got sleep issues. Like, it's harder to wind down at night. And I'm not just saying these issues are with me, because I think every single man that I've coached or talked to has the same or very similar issues. And I get it. Like, in the work that I do, it's very easy to focus in moments of peak stress. Like I talked about in the last 2 weeks up to the episode from 2 weeks ago, what to do in moments of high reactivity. Or we go way back into what was happening early on in life in childhood that helped form our perceptions of the world, how we experience ourselves, how we experience the world, the underlying tone of our nervous system. But what we're talking today is actually really tactical. And what I find is not that, of course, the deep work and the inner work, that's invaluable stuff. But this is something truly, brother, that is so simple and so, relatively speaking, easy and accessible. And if done consistently, can have a massive, massive benefit to how you experience your family, how your family experiences you. And it doesn't need to be complicated. It just needs to be present, right? So, what are some of the consequences of if you don't have some type of intentional transition? And when I say intentional, I'm not talking about, okay, the commute from work to home. I'm not talking about taking a shower. I'm not talking about having that beer. No, what I'm talking about is a legit change of state with intention. And again, it doesn't have to be long. Now, if this goes on long term, it will erode the quality and the intimacy of your relationship. In fact, intimacy basically dies because there's no conditions for it. There's nothing that's setting it up for your woman to feel safe, to relax, to soften into what all of us men want, into their feminine. In order for that to happen, we need to be grounded. We need to be present. We need to have our breath low and slow, not high, fast, and tight, not in a sympathetic dominant mode. Because if she feels that, she is not going to feel safe with our nervous system. And therefore, her nervous system isn't going to be able to relax and unwind into us. No, she's going to still stay on guard and still stay tense. And she's going to pull back. And also, she doesn't know what version of us we're getting. And if that happens over and over and over, she's going to be more, again, on guard and more in like a protective mode. And the same thing with our kids. That's why when in the example I mentioned, I walk downstairs and it's like, where's Mike at? Or what version of Mike am I getting tonight? And I've heard this in different ways in so many guys that I've coached over the years that that's the very reason why, again, we're doing this podcast. And a man needs a pattern interrupt in that moment, right? So the other thing, long-term consequences, is sleep challenges. Sleep almost becomes impossible, right? Even if you're in bed at 9, 10, 11 at night, but your mind keeps going. You're thinking about the meetings from the day, or what needs to get accomplished, or what didn't get accomplished, or what are you going to do tomorrow, or, something that maybe you felt shameful for during the day, and your mind is just racing over and over, replaying. You're not going to be able to downregulate into a more restful state. And usually what ends up happening then you don't get quality sleep. You're exhausted in the morning. You need more caffeine, and then it's even harder to downshift. Now, you might be taking sleep aids. You might be, have an extra pot at night, but that's not a real intentional downshift. And you're not going to really get the quality sleep that you need. And remember this, there is nothing more tissue rebuilding, more recovery promoting, more regenerating than sleep. And a lot of the sleep challenges that men have can be remedied or resolved by this exact thing. And so think about this. When you wake up in the morning tired, usually it started the night before or again just before that. The other thing that happens is if this goes on for too long, you'll likely end up losing yourself because you'll continually be reacting. You'll be in reactive mode. And over time, the stress that you're experiencing is going to be your natural tone. And you won't even realize it. And you're just going to be, again, reacting to everything around you, reacting to what your wife's saying. You won't even hear what's deeper underneath it because you're too in it. If you've heard the saying, which I love, is you can't read the label from inside the bottle. You're so in it. You're so stressed. You're so tired but wired that you don't even realize at a deeper level it's actually going on. And like I've mentioned in multiple times already in just the last few minutes, but I promise you, your wife can feel it. Your kids can feel it. And if you're really being honest, I would imagine you can feel it too. You just might not know that it's as big of an issue it is or what to do about it. But if you do this and have some semblance of a protocol, a downshifting, an intentional time of transition, it can do wonders for you. And when I was thinking about this, like I get it, even in my own life as a performance coach, as a men's coach, so much attention gets put in the morning routine. And when you look at the highest performers, usually they have a morning routine. And oftentimes high performers can get done what most people get done in their entire day in the first 2 hours of their day. So this is not to say that a rising ritual or whatever you want to call it, a morning routine, isn't critical, because it is. However, most people's challenge does not start in the morning. It's a byproduct of what happens the day and the night before. And so most guys, and maybe you're one of them, this transition is just non-existent. You might be doing a location change, like the commute from work to home, or maybe you go pick up the kids, but you actually don't have something that completely shifts your nervous system. So your nervous system continually stays on, continually stays alert, as if you're assessing for threat. What could go wrong? What happens? You need to be on, but you're not dropped in to your body. That's what embodiment is. Like, we hear embodiment tossed around all over the place today. But at any level, embodiment is you dropping into the sensations. It's more sensation oriented than mind oriented. It's you dropping into your feeling body. It's you being connected with your feet on the floor, you being connected to the expansion and the stretch of your belly as you breathe in. It's you being able to actually exhale, like truly deeply exhale. That is when you're more in your body, when you're embodied and not just a talking head, or what a lot of times, guys, when you're tired and wired, it's a rising energy. It's a fast energy. Embodiment is slower. The tone, even your voice will drop an octave or two, is because you're being more felt. Your breath is low and slow. And you've heard me say on many podcasts about it's almost going to be impossible to even rewrite any story that you have about yourself, about the world, whether you're not enough, or your wife's bitching at you, or always complaining, or the world, whatever the story is. It's going to be impossible if your breath is not low and slow, meaning if your nervous system is not communicating safety. So again, most people do not have this transition at all, and their nervous system is continually in go mode, meaning their levels, their hormones of cortisol and adrenaline is too high for too long, and they haven't allowed themselves to adequately enter into rest mode, recovery mode, connection mode. I mean, just think about this. I mean, I love coffee, don't get me wrong, but remember, the half-life of caffeine is approximately 5 to 6 hours. So what that means is, if let's say you have 2 cups of coffee, maybe you have one at 8 a.m. and then one at 3 p.m. towards the end of the day. That coffee at 3 p.m., let's say it had 200 milligrams of caffeine, which isn't super crazy. I think even just a normal long coffee has somewhere around 3 to 350, something like that. But let's just say moderate. You have a 200 milligram shot of coffee or an Americano. You have that at 3 p.m. If the half-life is 5 to 6 hours, it's going to be 8 or 9 p.m. before it drops down to 100. So not only your sleep, but your quality of sleep you'll never really get there. And then you'll wonder why your Oura Ring score or your Whoop score is continually showing as not quality sleep. All right, quick pause. So you just heard me breaking down what's happening in your nervous system, why you're tired but wired, why your mind won't shut off, why your wife can feel when you're not really there. And look, if that's you, you're not broken, and trust me, you're not failing. You're just missing a transition. That's it. And that's the problem I'm solving Tuesday, February 10th. I'm teaching you the exact protocols and framework to shift from work mode into family mode in less than 5 minutes. We're doing it live together, and you will feel a shift immediately. And it's also going to be recorded, so if you can't attend live, You can get the replay. However, the price will go up after the workshop. Right now, the price is $47, and I will include a link in the show notes. So if you need this, or a man you know in your life need this as well, send them the link. All right, let's get back to it. Or again, you just wake up wanting to hit the snooze button and you never feel fully online, or it takes you a long time to actually turn the lights on, right? Because that go mode, that sympathetic dominant mode, truly was not designed to be an all-day thing. It's more designed for short bursts, intentional bursts. But when we stay in it for too long, especially out of the workday, like I get it. We have a role, if you're like me, who feels the call, and it's a true fucking honor to be the provider of my family. But remember, our role and responsibility as husbands, as fathers, goes far beyond the role of being a financial provider. That's one piece, and it is a big piece, don't get me wrong. But if your family's not feeling you, if your family's not feeling connected or safe around you, everything that you're doing to work so hard for, I'm not saying it doesn't mean anything, but would go so much further in the ways that you want it to if you had the awareness, sometimes even the willingness to prioritize shifting out of this mode. And so we need to be able to walk ourselves into a more calm, receptive, heart-centered state. Because if we're in work mode for, 8 to 12 hours, we weren't with our family during that time. I mean, this even historically, this is one of the major reasons why young boys have challenges and grow up as immature, uninitiated men, is because right around the Industrial Revolution, fathers were pulled from wherever they were on the farm or whatever they were doing and into the factories. And during that time, kids, sons specifically, were no longer spending as much time in proximity to their fathers where they could learn and feel the transmission of what it is to be a father, that role, that nourishment through osmosis. And so it's similar, but it's different. Today, we have guys, myself included, who we work in an office, whether it's, now there's a lot of guys working from home like me, or you work in a corporate setting, or you work outside. But when you get home, your kids or your son specifically was not there with you. Your wife was not there with you. So there's something in the psyche that's like, Robert Bly talks about this, like there's an inherent distrust in the boy's psyche because he doesn't know what his father was doing. He gets a father who's just sitting on the couch, exhausted, not present, and he wasn't there for so many hours, and he can't even conceptually understand that he's providing, he's supporting. And so I'm telling you, this is how important it is, because it can completely reshape your whole family dynamic, and it doesn't require a ton of deep work. It just literally requires awareness and prioritization. And so many guys, myself included, at the end of the day, like, yeah, I'm exhausted. I am tired. And so what we end up doing is we try to draw on willpower. Okay, got to dig deep, got to turn it on. But it is so much harder to override the physiological state with your head. Your heart rate's elevated. For me specifically, the way that I express is my jaw can get tense. Like I've got clients who will say like their shoulders elevate. They feel the tension in their shoulders. That's all rising energy. The breath is high, tight, shallow, sympathetic, right? Your nervous system is not, again, it's going to be sent further into sympathetic mode. You need a cue. You need a signal that go mode, threat mode is over, right? And so the example that I mentioned earlier about me going downstairs and bouncing around and Lauren being like, whoa, 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 you're bouncing. Where are you? I mean, that's happened in different ways, shapes, or form, and more times than I'm even proud to admit. But it's so easy for us guys to get locked into one, but not have the transition, right? And the transition is so much where the gold is. I was talking even with a client recently. This guy's a high performance CEO. I train him multiple times a week. And I see it so clearly with him. And we've talked about this many times, but his wife gets irritated because of this very thing. He's providing, doing everything for the family. But then when he comes home, she just wants him there. She just wants to make dinner with him. But even though he's going through the motions of helping, supporting, making dinner, she doesn't feel him. And I understand for us guys, it's hard to conceptualize this. Like, what does it mean to feel? Well, everything that I'm saying plays into this, but if you're not in your breath, you're not going to be feeling yourself, right? You're not going to be feeling your own heart. And how are you going to expect your wife or your kids to feel you as well? So she was getting irritated over and over, that even though, again, he was present and, doing logistical things like to help, she's like, where are you? Where are you? And then when we started giving him some simple stuff, it was actually 1 to 2 minutes. It wasn't even very much. It completely shifted his whole dynamic, how his kids experienced him, how his wife, and they finally started feeling him. And so in this workshop that I'm going to be teaching just here in a few weeks, and I'll be sure to link it, in show notes or below. But the first step of the framework that I'm going to teach, and I want to share it with you, because just even having the awareness of the necessity and the importance of a protocol, or taking a few intentional minutes to downshift, could be all you need, and you can run with it. But I'm going to go much deeper than what I'm sharing here. I'm going to break down a 4-part framework, and then I'm going to give multiple different protocols that you can do in under 5 minutes, usually 2-ish minutes, to create that intentional state change that can elicit all the changes that we're talking about today. But the first thing is about noticing where you're at. Actually, the first thing is, prioritizing a time for the downshift protocol, like time for you to take a moment for you to get resourced. And the first thing is with that is to check in, because what I've really identified is there's 4 different states that men often fall into in this point or this time of transition. Either you're depleted, and that goes into fatigue. So depletion, fatigue, exhaustion, your eyes are burning, you're tired, you just feel heavy, you feel foggy, and you even have short patience. Again, a lot of the patience issues that even I talked about 2 episodes ago, you wouldn't even need any of those tools or many of those tools if you did what we're talking about here. Okay, so are you depleted? Are you fatigued? Like your eyes are tired, right? You want to go to sleep. That's one state. It's different than feeling the next state, which is overloaded. So when I'm talking about overloaded, I'm talking more about emotionally full. You're at capacity or even exceeded capacity. You might notice your chest and your heart is very tense. So you're overloaded and overwhelmed emotionally. And now that might be related to something that happened at work, maybe you made a mistake, again, a story that you're telling yourself, but emotionally you're at capacity. Right? That's a totally different state. The third state is being wired, right? Your mind will not turn off. You keep racing. You can't slow down. You're still on. That was me in that example I gave earlier when I walked downstairs. I was tired and I was depleted and wired. So some of these can overlap, but just to explain it simply, wired is the third state. And the fourth state is being disconnected. Now, a lot of guys fall into this. You're numb, you're checked out, and you're not in your feeling body. So any one of these states can cause immediate and long-term problems. And the type of approach that you use, the protocol or what you choose to do, will be slightly different, because if you were, for example, if you were completely depleted, but I gave you to do something that would actually be more suited if you were wired, like it could actually be driving the depletion deeper, right? So not all of these work well with the same remedy. And that's what I'm going to be teaching in the workshop. But at any level, you need to have nervous system state responsive protocols, things that you can do in a short amount of time, things that you can do anywhere, both in your car, in the shower, before you walk in the door, while you're driving, to help you intentionally shift out of this. So again, you can enjoy everything that you're working so damn hard for. Like, I get it. You work your ass off to provide, to support, to be the leader of your family. But that leadership extends far beyond being a financial provider. Your family needs you there, all of you, in your roots, in your heart, not just in your head. Yes, your head is one part of it, but it's not the whole thing. And if your family can't feel you, if your family can't, whether it's conscious or not, trust you in that moment, then you're not really going to feel the connection, the intimacy that you feel not only you deserve, but you're craving so deeply. And if you do, however, have a type of protocol or something that you do to help you downshift, well, one, you're going to walk into the house feeling more calm, more grounded, more there. Your wife is, or your partner is going to feel more relaxed. The hug that you get is going to actually feel warmer. You're going to be more engaged. The evening is going to flow much better. You're going to be more present for dinner time. The intimacy is going to be, the texture of it is just going to be completely different. You're going to notice a whole shift in how you sleep. You're going to fall asleep easier. You're going to wake up more rested. You're going to be feeling more like yourself and not like you're constantly under-resourced. And all of that is possible just by bringing, again, more intentionality to this very short but really critical time of day. And what I find, it's non-existent in most men's life. And I think it's also because at the end of the day, and I get it, I've been there so many times, we're so exhausted that we don't want another thing to do, right? But I'm telling you, if you prioritize it and you know what to do with where you're at in that moment, fuck, is it worth it? And once you get some wins around this, it will be generative. It will be momentum that you can build. And so at any level in today's podcast, I hope you do implement something that you can do to shift from go mode to rest, family, and connection mode. And if you do want to learn this more, dive deeper, learn a 4-part framework, get multiple protocols that you can do anytime, anywhere in a very short amount of time that are not super complex and not super require a bunch of technique or skill. You just got to do them. And the benefits are infinite or magnitudes more than what it costs to do on you. Come to the workshop or share this with a man who can benefit. I'm so fired up about this because it's helped me truly so much and helped so many of my clients that I'm excited to offer it to you here. And I'll be sure to put a link where you can learn more and sign up. It's happening just in a few weeks. It's going to be live and it'll also be recorded if you can't attend live. So learn more and I hope to see you there. Have a beautiful day. Peace.